Chapter 1061. I can't guarantee that I won't turn this place into hell. It was not up to the maids to suspect her, so they went off to do other things. After walking out, Lin Che immediately saw a car parked at the side. Without waiting for her to speak, the car had already driven over. Madam Gu, please. Lin Che pinched her hands gently. Feeling as if she had no other choice, she nevertheless got in. She wondered if they would follow the trail and discover something when they saw what she had left behind. But she had to take this risk for Minmin's sake, for the sake of the child in Minmin's womb. Meanwhile, Yu Minmin suddenly started shouting. She shouted to the people outside, Is there anyone outside? My stomach hurts, my stomach. Hearing her cries for help, the people outside quickly opened the door. They saw Yu Minmin lying there deathly pale and were slightly worried for a moment. Nothing could happen to the child. They looked at each other and discussed what they should do. Should we let the higher-ups know about this? So what if we tell them? We're the ones who will have to bear the responsibility. They said that nothing should happen to the child and nothing should happen to her too. If something goes wrong now, can our families still survive? Although they were outside, when they had agreed to take on this job, the other party had already had their families' lives in the palms of their hands. They could not regret, nor could they find a way out. Forget it. Get a doctor here, right now, he said. Okay. They quickly went to seek a doctor and dragged him here directly. The doctor was very disgruntled on the way here because this place was so remote and it was so strange for a bunch of men to get a gynecologist to examine a pregnant woman. But there was no way for him to refuse as he had been dragged here immediately. When he arrived, he saw Yu Minmin lying there, seemingly at her last breath. Her stomach was shockingly huge. He hastily walked towards her and checked on her. Where does it hurt? My stomach hurts a lot. All right, let me examine you first. Ah, doctor, it's so painful. Save me, save my child, she shouted while grabbing onto him. The doctor was completely unable to examine her properly as she was shaking him. It was even more so because of the full-grown men staring at him from behind, making him feel even more frustrated. They were even rushing him. How exactly is she doing, doctor? Goodness gracious, don't rush me, I can't tell at all. There's no equipment here. At the very least, I need an ultrasound machine to be able to tell. I need an electrocardiogram too. I need anyway, there's no apparatus here at all. There's no way I can check. So, what now? Seeing that she's in this state, she may be about to go into labor prematurely. If we don't go to the hospital quickly now, I'm afraid it will be too late. Who exactly among you is the husband of this pregnant woman? Does anyone in the family have any common sense at all? Premature labor. They were all men, how could they know this? The doctor said, then, quickly get the car ready to go to the hospital. They looked at each other. Left with no choice, they could only say, all right. Let's go to the hospital. Get more people to come along. Anyway, this is M Nation. We don't have to be afraid of the GU family coming after us. They went out and made preparations. Then, they quickly rushed to the hospital with Yu Minmin. When they arrived at the hospital, Yu Minmin yelled, no. I think I need to take a shit. It's coming out. The doctor said, go into the labor ward quickly. She may really be about to give birth. We'll go in first and examine her. The men were still standing there in a state of confusion. One of them said, it seems to be that way. I heard that when women are giving birth, there's a chance that they will suddenly defecate. Because he himself had a child, everyone believed what he said with absolute certainty. Yu Minmin waited for them to leave before suddenly sitting up from the bed. This won't do. I really need to defecate. The doctor was shocked. Hey, miss, where are you going? But Yu Minmin looked at the doctor and said through gritted teeth, I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you in the future. Confused, the doctor asked, what are you talking about? In the next moment, Yu Minmin hoisted one of the small oxygen tanks at the side and smashed it down on the doctor's head. Ah! The doctor cried out. Then, he collapsed directly onto the ground. Yu Minmin could not be bothered with everything else right now. No matter what, she had to give it a shot for her child and herself. Following the plan she had come up with over the past few days, she took out the tool that she had brought with her. She went to the window and started to pry it open. Right now, she actually had to thank her father for being abusive towards the family back then. She had learned many skills to allow her to escape. In no time, she managed to pry open this flimsy window. After that, she jumped down from the window with minimal effort. It was the 5th floor, but it was not terrifying to her. She went down bit by bit. Outsiders would not be able to imagine that a woman so heavily pregnant could actually have such endurance to climb down from the 5th floor. Meanwhile, in the glazed tile palace, Linda looked inside. The doors were tightly shut. Gu Jingming was inside and was still neither eating nor drinking. It was extremely worrying. One of the high-ranking officials looked at Linda and asked with slight worry, "Is there really no way to make Mr. President come out calmly?" Linda shook her head. "Mr. Gu told us not to let Mr. President leave the glazed tile palace no matter what, for the time being. Otherwise, we don't know what Mr. President will do out of impulse due to his worry for Madam. Right now, it's the most crucial time for the president. If he takes one wrong step, his political career may end immediately. Thus, we would rather see Mr. President neither eating nor drinking inside than have it any other way." Gu Jingze had called long ago to instruct Linda. After hearing Gu Jingze's words, Linda did not doubt him at all. She had worked for Mr. President for so long and she was certain that Mr. President had never been so serious and concerned about any woman, not even Yin Suya in the past. Especially now that Ma'am was pregnant with his child and there were only 3 months left before she would give birth, Mr. President would definitely lose his rationality if something went wrong now. The official looked inside and sighed. But there was nothing he could do about it either. The situation outside was a complete mess. If Mr. President disappeared now, people would be even more anxious. But Linda's words were right too. In his present state, there was not much use in Gu Jingming making an appearance. It was better for him to calm down over the next few days and wait for confirmation of news about Ma'am before discussing the next step. In that case, watch over, sir. Make sure nothing happens to him inside. Linda nodded. All right, I'll go in and take a look. Linda pushed the door open quickly. However, before she even had time to react, she felt a hand strangle her neck directly. Don't move. Linda's throat tightened. The ice-cold barrel of a gun was already pressed against her temple. That man, who looked as if he had neither eaten nor slept in a long time, who should be completely weak, had frightening strength in his hands right now. Simply by pressing against her body, she could no longer move an inch. Sir, Linda frantically said, you must stay calm. Mr. Gu already told me that you can't go out. Do you know that I'm capable of anything right now? Let me go out, otherwise, I can't guarantee that I won't turn this place into hell. Chapter 1062, He wanted the beauty and not power. His ice-cold voice was truly like a voice that emanated from a demon in hell. It made people shiver. Mr. President, be rational. We have already searched for her. Please don't be so impulsive, alright? Gu Jingming exerted even more force on her neck. You're my subordinate, so you should obey only my commands. Let me out. But I'm doing this for your sake. Mr. President, I won't let you out even if you kill me. If anything happens to you outside, so many citizens of C Nation will lose a good president. We will lose a good leader too. You can't go. Linda was shouting for dear life. Even though there were already marks on her neck from being strangled, she still persisted in not letting go of Gu Jingming. Gu Jingming's eyes had only indifference in them as he looked at her. Let go of me. I've already said it. No, I won't release you. We won't release you. Linda gave a command to the people outside. All of you, listen up. Even if I die, we must not let Mr. President out. Fine, then, you can die first. Gu Jingming's eyes turned cold. None of the people present had ever seen Gu Jingming like this. He hooked Linda's neck without hesitation, causing her to lose her consciousness immediately. Gu Jingming was not so cruel as to kill her, but he strangled her so that she fainted instantly. Then, he pulled the trigger hard using his hand and fired a shot at the thigh of one of the presidential guards who was walking towards him. He said, no one can stop me. Whoever gets in my way can only die. Mr. President, his personal guards were still shouting. But Gu Jingming merely fired a shot at each guard, causing them all to collapse. Then, he walked out, step by step. Outside, B City's sky was filled with wild and violent rain, and heavy black clouds. It turned the capital city, which had low atmospheric pressure, to begin with, into a scene of carnage. Meanwhile, sirens were blasting outside the glazed tile palace. The residents of the area around the glazed tile palace looked outside anxiously. They knew that something major had happened in Sea Nation recently. Because they lived so close, all of them wanted to find out what exactly had happened. However, as many major national affairs were involved, it was not something that ordinary citizens could investigate. As a result, they could only look at this never-before-seen situation pass by crushingly but were unable to get wind of any news. They only knew vaguely that something huge was about to happen, and this time, it was really something huge. Of course, no one among them could have imagined that this was indeed a huge affair because Mr. President had escaped and had gone missing. At a crucial time like this, he had given up power for the sake of a woman. He had gone to save his wife all alone, giving up the currently volatile politics of Sea Nation. However, no one in the glazed tile palace dared to release the news. Instead, they continued to block off everything that was happening in the glazed tile palace. Gu Jingze was alone in his office in the Gu Industries. He stood outside the translucent glass window and looked with misty eyes at the tall buildings towering into the depths of the dark clouds. Sir, Mr. President has already left the glazed tile palace on his own. We don't know where he has gone. What should we do now? Gu Jingze said, since he's gone, just leave him be. To capture the thief, you must first capture the ringleader. Any stream of water has a source. Once you find the source, everything else will flow naturally. But sir, the situation outside is completely chaotic. Even the Gu family's personal guards are in a state of turbulence. Qin Hao had a troubled expression on his face. He was at a loss as to what to do. At this precise moment, a disturbance stirred outside again, followed by agitated shouting by the personal guards. They wanted Gu Jingze to personally come forth. They could not bear such grievance. They could not accept ill words about the Gu Jingze from other prominent families and citizens outside. Initially, this was not an issue. But Gu Jingze's decision not to mobilize the troops disappointed numerous people. They wondered how the Gu family could simply allow others to bully themselves like this without doing anything about it. What exactly was this head of the Gu family doing? Was the old master really incapacitated right now? Why was no one coming to help them uphold justice? Things like this had happened many times over the past few days, but no one questioned it. At the moment, the personal guards of the Gu family all felt a little low in morale. They felt a sense of uncertainty about the path ahead. Of course, these things should not be happening in the first place. But the second family and the third family were all seizing the opportunity to make trouble. They wanted to make use of this rare chance to cause instability to Gu Jingze's position as the head of the family. Thus, they planned many little tricks in secret, planning to send the personal guards into disorder. We demand that the head of the family makes sure justice is served. The head of the family must strengthen our position. Precisely. What exactly is he doing? Did he disappear just because something happened? However, at this moment, all of a sudden, a bullet flew across the sky. Instantly, the center of the brow of the personal guard standing right at the front turned red. Fresh blood spattered from his forehead all the way onto the forehead of one of the personal guards next to him. Following this gunshot, everyone around him instantly turned completely silent. In the deathly silence, someone walked out slowly from the dark rain. His steps were stable and steady, and his rear view was hazy. Lightning flashed across his rear view. His figure was immediately elongated due to the cold light of the lightning. In the cold night, he seemed like a lone star that had appeared faintly in the night sky. His shadow swayed behind him and his expressionless face appeared even harsher in the deep night. It was Gu Jingze. The gun in his hand was still hot. The bullet had just shot out of his pistol but was now rooted in someone else's head. Everyone looked at Gu Jingze. For a moment, he stood there alone with no one around him. But his expression was that of someone with a magnificent army of thousands of men and horses, and his presence was very strong. His vague aura of desolation made him appear even more arrogant, like a divine god that one could not afford to offend. Everyone has seen it. This is the dignity of the Gu family. You want an explanation, right? This is the explanation. You want a response from the head of the family, right? This is the response. Everyone's gazes were fixed on his proud and aloof figure as they heard his tough and cold words. The Gu family doesn't need a personal army who will question the authority of the head of the family, much less a personal army who will be blindly instigated by others. Right now, at this very moment, I will record the names of every single personal guard here. You can go and receive punishment. A chill ran through everyone's bodies. In the next moment, numerous personal guards had already surged forth to surround the person in the middle. Master, we're in the wrong. Mr. Gu, spare us. Gu Jingze said, I won't go easy on my own people, much less outsiders. Whoever impinges on the dignity of the Gu family, I will definitely send him back to hell first using the Gu family's dignity. I treat outsiders this way and I will also do the same to you. The personal guards did not dare to make another sound as Gu Jingze stood there. Just then, however, they heard Qin Hao walk to him hastily. He looked at Gu Jingze and did not speak either. He merely waited for Gu Jingze to come down before saying quietly, Sir, Madam has gone missing. Chapter 1063. So it was the Yun family who had done all this. Gu Jingze returned to the Gu residence in no time. Lin Che had gone missing. All of Lin Che's personal guards had already gone out to search for her. As for Gu Jingze, the moment he entered the house, the maids pulled him to go and look at the photographs which Lin Che had left behind. He immediately understood what had happened. This fool, this fool. She had gone to look for Yu Minmin. Gu Jingze closed his eyes. His eyes gleamed slightly with cool light. Mobilize everyone to look for Madam. Don't limit yourselves to the boundaries of C Nation. Dig out all the surveillance footage. Report to me as soon as you find any trace of Madam. Yes, sir. Gu Jingze brandished his hand and massaged his brow. After having gone without sleep for 2 days and 2 nights, he still looked like he was made of steel, except that his eyes were obviously bloodshot. Meanwhile, inside. Gu Xinian looked at the chaotic situation outside and looked up at the shadow guard in front of him. Father has to handle too many things. I reckon it will be very difficult for him to find Mother. Mobilize all of the shadow guards to search for her in secret. Remember, in secret. Yes, little young master. Gu Xinian placed his arm behind his back and looked outside. His eyes bore a sense of apathy that was uncharacteristic of his age. Father is searching in the open in such an obvious manner. They will guard against Father's search on all fronts. But they don't know that we are also searching in the shadows, so they won't be vigilant against us. Quickly start searching if you can. Let me know first if there's any news. Yes, little young master. At the very beginning, all of the shadow guards felt that they were waiting upon a child. However, as time went on, they were surprised to discover that this child was definitely different from an ordinary child. It was also an honor for them to be able to watch over him as he grew up. Because in the future, this child's accomplishments would not be less significant than his father's. After traveling some distance in a dizzy state, Lin Che only realized that she had actually arrived at M Nation when she reached her destination. She alighted from the car and saw in disbelief that this place was very big and looked extremely spacious and empty. However, she had just alighted from the car when she saw someone run out frantically while shouting, "She has gone missing." The people in the car were very surprised when they got out of the car. What do you mean that she's missing? Yu Minmin has gone missing. With the child in tow, she just fucking disappeared from upstairs. She jumped down and we don't know where she ran off to. We don't know if she's dead or alive. Lin Che's gaze wavered. When she saw the person turn around alertly and glance at her, she quickly acted dumb as if she had not understood what they had said. The man hastily pulled the person who had come over towards him and the two of them went to the side to discuss. Lin Che stood here and looked at the people around her. But she kept thinking about what that man had said. She had gone missing. Yu Minmin had escaped. Lin Che maintained her composure. She saw that the two of them had already walked back. They looked at Lin Che with great bitterness and hatred, malice hidden in their expressions. Lin Che understood. It seemed that they were going to guard her even more strictly since they now held her hostage after just losing a hostage. Lin Che did not mind their gazes either. She would cross the bridge when she came to it. She also felt much more relieved now that she knew that Yu Minmin had escaped. She looked at the approaching men and said calmly, "Can I eat something? I'm going to die of hunger." The two men were both shocked. They could not believe that this woman was not afraid at all. She still dared to ask for food at a time like this. Lin Che blinked. "Since I'm your only hostage now, you must take good care of me. You must make sure that nothing untoward happens to me, right? Quick, prepare some food for me. I want to eat roast duck, shredded chicken porridge, and sun-dried radish." They glanced at her disdainfully but had no choice but to go and buy some food. Lin Che went in to take a rest. She looked at the time and wondered what time it was in C Nation. She did not know if Gu Jingze had seen the photographs she had left behind. If he had seen them, perhaps he would be able to find out something. After eating and drinking her fill, she also felt her mind broaden considerably. She thought to herself that Yu Minmin had already escaped. It seemed that they had not been very strict in guarding her previously. That was why Yu Minmin was able to escape. If that was the case, she did not know if she still had the chance to escape too. She did not know if Yu Minmin was able to escape because she already looked so sickly, like she was about to die. Furthermore, her belly was so big. Just looking at it was frightening, so they were no longer vigilant. However, the situation right now was different from before. She looked completely fine. Furthermore, after their previous experience, they would definitely be even more alert this time. Thus, it was even more difficult for her to escape. But before she could decide whether or not to escape, someone suddenly pushed the door open and stood by the door. Lin Che looked up when she heard the noise. She immediately saw Yun Luo enter. Lin Che's eyes started to hurt. Yun Luo, Yun Luo. Had the Yun family done all of this? A chill suddenly ran through Lin Che's body. She felt that she had finally come to a realization, but it was a bit late for her to realize it only now. When she mulled over it in detail right now, she found it slightly terrifying. Had the Yun family planned so many things just to teach the Gu family a lesson? What exactly was the Yun family's objective? What was the result they ultimately wanted to achieve? And right now, what did Yun Luo plan to do by coming here all of a sudden? She looked at Yun Luo and her eyes twitched. However, she then calmed down. She thought of the fact that she was a hostage right now. Even if Yun Luo was here, she would not dare to do anything to her either. Lin Che said, "Miss Yun, it's such a pleasant surprise to see you here." Yun Luo was very shocked as well when she saw Lin Che fully satiated and content, as well as the way she was completely fearless and comfortable. She could not believe that she was not afraid at all. Of course, Yun Luo did not want to see her looking so fearless. In Yun Luo's heart, she wanted Lin Che to be an ordinary woman who was timid and cowardly. Only this would show how special she herself was and make her feel certain that Gu Jingze was definitely blind in liking Lin Che. But Lin Che's behavior made it even more obvious that she was extraordinary. How Yun Luo wished she was a worldly woman. That way, she would have a legitimate reason to look down on her. It was a pity that she simply wasn't. Yun Luo looked at Lin Che. Her belly was already protruding slightly. In theory, one would have been able to tell that she was pregnant a long time ago, but her figure was still so perfect. A slight belly could not affect her appearance at the moment. This made Yun Luo even more unhappy. It also triggered her jealousy. She looked at Lin Che. "I really didn't think that you would still be so happy about being a prisoner." Lin Che said, "It's fine to be a prisoner. I can eat and drink, and I even have the noble Miss Yun to visit me. Isn't it great?" Yun Luo said, "Yes. I'm not just here to visit you. I also want to entertain you well over the next few days." Lin Che was alarmed deep inside, but on the surface, she remained calm. Really, that would be too much trouble. Yun Luo laughed nastily inside. She was still looking at her with a venomous expression. Then, she turned around and said to someone, "Bring her to my place." Chapter 1064. Bringing her along to insult her. The people who had come in were stunned. What did she mean when she told them to take her to her place? How could they? "Miss, about that." Yun Luo stopped him immediately and looked at him arrogantly as if she was looking at a bedbug. She had always treated her subordinates this way. Those who worked for them in exchange for money were nothing but useful dogs in her eyes. It was simply wrong for a dog to dare question her. I told you to take her to my place. Why, are you pretending that you didn't hear me? Yun Luo did not even spare that person a glance when she finished speaking. However, when she turned to face Lin Che, she behaved in a completely different manner. Since I've said that I will treat you with hospitality, I will definitely do it. They had no choice. Of course, they dared not oppose the Yun family's young miss. Even if the rumors said that the Gu family had forced the Yun family to a corner, old institutions died hard and a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Such a prominent family could not disappear so easily. Especially in M Nation where the Yun family's long-standing prestige still existed, it was impossible to obliterate the Yun family instantly too. How could minor characters like them dare to oppose Yun Luo? As a result, they had no choice but to bring Lin Che with them and leave with Yun Luo. Although Yun Luo had been staying in the Yun residence all this while, she had her own residence outside as well. When they arrived, Yun Luo tossed her things aside. She looked at Lin Che while gesturing for her subordinates to move aside first. Then, she looked Lin Che up and down and said, "So, what fun things do you think we should do today?" Lin Che said, "Whatever you say." "Well, I have friends coming over to have fun in the afternoon." "Have fun with us, then," Yun Luo said. Lin Che did not think that anything good would come out of this. Sure enough, many women came by noisily in the afternoon. They were dressed extravagantly. When they saw Yun Luo, they immediately went up to her and flattered her incessantly. "Luo, I haven't seen you for a few days and you've gotten prettier again." "Wow, Luo, where did you buy your clothes? They're so pretty." "Luo, your earrings are limited edition, right? I think I've seen them before." Yun Luo smiled. "All right, don't be occupied with looking only at me. We actually have a guest with us today." She glanced at Lin Che behind her. Lin Che's eyes darted. She smiled at the people in front of her. They looked at Lin Che. At first glance, she looked stunning. Her skin was so soft and smooth. Who was this beauty whose skin looked so moist? However, Yun Luo did not give them the chance to praise her and said, "We must have fun with her today, so much fun that she knows who she must obey in M Nation and how she should speak to me in M Nation." They looked at Yun Luo's expression and immediately understood her intentions. Yun Luo did not like this person. On the contrary, Yun Luo hated her. Lin Che was unconcerned. She sat there and watched them set up the mahjong table. Then, they started to play mahjong. While Lin Che simply stood at the side and watched. They leaned against the mahjong table for support. She could tell that all of them always gave in to Yun Luo. No matter which tile Yun Luo put out, they would let her achieve a pung, and even a hu. Yun Luo really enjoyed the feeling of being placed on a pedestal. She did not find it boring at all. Yun Luo looked at Lin Che and said to the other women, "You guys don't know yet, right? She's actually a famous celebrity in C Nation. Lin Che, don't you know her? She looks familiar. Come to think of it, has she acted in some movie?" "Yes, she even won the title of movie queen," Yun Luo said. Knowing that Yun Luo did not like her, all of them naturally did not speak well of her. Instead, they said disparagingly, "Hee. Movie queen, how many judges did she sleep with to get up there?" "Exactly, she's not famous at all. I've never even seen any of her movies." "Good lord, Yun Luo, why did you bring someone like this here? Entertainers in the lot are the filthiest." Lin Che knew what she was trying to do. She sat here and smiled without speaking. Yun Luo said, "It's because she's here in M Nation. I have to make her feel welcome." They glanced askance at Lin Che with disdain. They did not understand how Lin Che had offended Yun Luo to the point where she had been called here to be insulted. But since she was someone whom Yun Luo wanted to humiliate, they could only help her to shame Lin Che. Entertainers and the like are the filthiest. The only reason they can become famous is because they're absolutely shameless. They dare to sleep with anyone they meet. Otherwise, with their level of natural endowments, so many of our friends around us are much more beautiful than they are. It's just that we think it's beneath our dignity to try to please others. That's right, just look at Luo. She's so beautiful and so elegant. If she joined the entertainment industry, she would be at the level of a female goddess. Our Luo can't be bothered to be some entertainer. Yun Luo smiled. That's enough. Stop teasing me. But Yun Luo felt happy inside. She even looked at Lin Che and scoffed. By the expression on her face, she seemed to consider herself superior. She had won many rounds of mahjong but was completely unconcerned about the money. She straightforwardly agreed for them to use the money for their enjoyment. At the same time, she even gave each of the women limited edition bags. These things that were each worth a few $100,000 did not appeal much to her, but the women went crazy with delight. They thought to themselves that the Yun family was well deserving of its name. Even if it had suffered a heavy blow right now, it was still much more formidable than typical wealthy families like theirs. Whatever she casually tossed aside would be something they could not match up to. When they went out to have fun, Yun Luo also brought Lin Che along. Lin Che did not really mind. It was pretty boring for her to stay here and listen to them humiliate her. It would be good to go out and look around. They arrived at a club very soon after. Entertainment here was not much different from entertainment in B City. The location also looked much smaller than similar ones in B City. The women called for several gigolos. All of them looked very young. The moment they saw the women, they threw themselves on them like hungry wolves who had seen meat. They knew that these women were generous. They were also young and so the men could at least tolerate them. As compared to serving those aged and ugly rich women, of course, they preferred these women. This was especially so when they saw Yun Luo. Their eyes brightened immediately. Just when they were fighting amongst each other to reach her first, they saw Lin Che at the side. At first, they noticed her belly. They were confused. They had never seen such a beautiful girl among the wealthy girls in M Nation. But she still came to a place like this despite being pregnant. These people were way too crazy. As expected, rich people didn't care about anything. Initially, men would not like women who were already pregnant, but when they saw how Lin Che did not look as terrible as typical pregnant women did and instead, looked as fresh and moving as always, they immediately felt that she was a treasure. It was rare for them to be able to see a beauty like this in such a place, so they were also eager to approach her. Although those who could be gigolos in this high-class place were the best looking in their circle, Lin Che had seen numerous handsome men in the entertainment industry after all. Furthermore, she even had Gu Jingze, one of the finest men, by her side. Thus, her resistance against men like these was too strong. She did not feel anything looking at them. Chapter 1065. Make sure to serve this woman well. But the other women could no longer control themselves. In their eyes, the men here were all very handsome. Since they did not have enough money to play around with male celebrities, they could also get their fill here. Hey, Xiaozi, this is none other than Miss Yun. Come here and serve her properly. The women specially directed the most handsome man to the seat beside Yun Luo. The man called Xiaozi looked at Yun Luo. He walked over to her with slight reluctance in his expression. The woman said, "This is one of the new additions. He became the ace right after joining. So many people want to take him out but are unable to." Then, she said to Xiaozi, "Come, wait upon Miss Yun properly. She's definitely different from others." Despite this, he merely nodded, approached her, and asked, "Does Miss Yun want to drink wine or eat something?" Yun Luo did not have an ounce of interest in gigolos like this one. Undeniably, this Xiaozi in front of her was indeed quite good-looking. His face would definitely attract many women outside. It was a pity that her heart was fixated on Gu Jingze from the moment she met him. From then on, she did not feel anything for any man she met. She smiled mockingly and thought to herself, how naive these women were. These sissy men had them in the palm of their hands and they looked completely smitten. On the contrary, she had encountered the most powerful man on earth. Thus, she did not even consider these individuals as men. But it was not as if that most powerful man belonged to her. She looked at Lin Che beside her. Lin Che also sat there expressionless. She did not feel anything for these people in front of her. Yun Luo thought, as expected of Madame Gu. Of course, she did not feel anything for them. But wouldn't it be too boring to sit here like this simply? Yun Luo said, "Xiaozi, no need to bother with me. Just serve this woman beside me, Miss Lin, well." Lin Che smiled awkwardly. I don't think there's a need for that. A handsome man like this is best left for you to enjoy. Yun Luo said, we agreed that he was supposed to serve you. I won't vie with you. Why, do you look down on gigolos? In front of them, Xiaozi's expression was stiff. About him, there was a sense of dissatisfaction at being insulted. But he swallowed it down with his hands trembling. Lin Che noticed all of this and did not miss anything. Lin Che could not bear it. She felt that everyone's journey in life was different and each one of them had frustrations of their own. She said, everyone has their own jobs. This is just his job. There's nothing to look down on or not to look down. He's here to keep us company, to speak to us, and relieve our boredom. You can't just call him a gigolo, right? Xiaozi froze. He looked at Lin Che and momentarily felt a grateful warmth in his heart. The long-awaited warmth seemed to provide him some comfort. Xiaozi said, it's all right. It doesn't matter what people call me. It's just a way to address me. Miss Lin, you can't drink alcohol, right? Lin Che nodded. Xiaozi immediately poured some juice for her. Drink carefully. Lin Che said, thank you. She took the juice from him and smiled at him. Xiaozi simply sat beside her and proceeded to help her take some fruits. The women were dumbfounded. So much money had been spent to get Xiaozi here. Fortunately, Yun Luo was the one paying the bill this time. Otherwise, they would not be able to get him here either. Because Xiaozi had gotten very popular the moment he came, he would definitely not leave with any client and was extremely cold. Someone had called for him once, but when he went there, he simply sat down and refused to speak. It was useless no matter how you tried to seduce him. There was nothing they could do about it as he was simply too attractive. As a result, many women also tolerated his behavior. They felt that his face was worth their additional effort too. But they did not expect him to actually sit right beside Lin Che after such a short time. He had even started to serve her things. Could it really be that Lin Che's beauty had moved him? They could not take it lying down. They did not know which nerve of Yun Luo's had short-circuited. If she hated Lin Che, why did she still have to get such a good man to keep her company? But Yun Luo was completely indifferent. When she witnessed this scene, she merely scoffed and asked, how can one be enough? Hey, call over all the best men in your establishment. A woman as slutty as she can't be satisfied with just one man. They were even more stunned. However, they did not dare to second-guess her and quickly went out to call for more people. After some time, the most good-looking men in the establishment were standing there in lines. Yun Luo did not stand on ceremony either. She brandished her hand and directly threw a wad of cash onto the table. Then, she said, come over, all of you. Miss Lin isn't picky, she wants all of you. The moment they saw that she was a very wealthy person, they frantically gathered around her. However, the 5 or 6 of them did not know what to do as they looked at Lin Che. Yun Luo simply scoffed and looked at Lin Che. You must have learned many tricks to serve Gu Jingze to the point where he dotes on you so much. You must have used several men. I don't know if these men are enough for you to use. Let me know if this is not enough. You're usually the one thinking up all ways to serve Jingze with your flirtatious tricks. Why don't you enjoy their methods for a change? Lin Che glared at Yun Luo. Do you find this very fun? Do you think that doing this will make Gu Jingze feel disgusted towards me? Yun Luo said, yes, perhaps he dotes on you and can't bear to leave you behind. But after I take videos of this and show them to him, it will definitely weigh on his mind. Slowly, after knowing that you've been played with by so many men, will he still not mind at all? Hee, you really think too highly of yourself. You also think too highly of men. You'll know if I'm right or not after giving it a shot. As she said this, Yun Luo stood up immediately. The women were all surprised. So this had been her intention all along. Yun Luo huffed. That's enough. We should all leave. We shouldn't intrude on Miss Lin's beautiful night. They quickly walked out. Lin Che stared at Yun Luo unwaveringly. However, the gigolos were all looking at Lin Che. Although they had been gigolos for such a long time and had met all kinds of people, it was actually their first time seeing such a beautiful woman. Although they worked as gigolos, they were ultimately men too. They would still have natural reactions towards her. Especially in a situation like today's, they were no longer gigolos but ordinary men. Just then, Xiaozi suddenly stepped forward. That's enough. She's a pregnant woman. It's not good to behave this way. Hearing this, Lin Che immediately looked at the man before her gratefully. All of them said, enough of that. Why are you pretending to have good intentions? That woman we saw earlier looked so rich. There's no reason for us not to take on such a good deal. Precisely. You're already working as a gigolo. Why are you still trying to act like a good Samaritan? They had despised Xiaozi since a long time ago. They felt that he had really grabbed all the limelight ever since joining the club. Furthermore, he was leading the life of a whore, but expected a monument to his chastity. He was trying to make himself out to be so morally superior for no reason. If you actually want to be morally upright, then don't sell your body out there. Xiaozi said, it's true that I'm a gigolo. But I keep people company while they have fun. I'm not here to do anything illegal. What you're doing is illegal. Just then, Lin Che also stood up. Seeing that the women had already gone out, she tugged at Xiaozi and said to him, I was actually kidnapped here. If I can escape from here today, I will definitely repay you. Chapter 1066. Bring her back here and punish her severely. In saying this, Lin Che did not actually hope for him to help her in some way. But she would always remember when someone treated her a little better in her time of need. Xiaozi also smiled. You don't have to repay me. Everyone has difficulties of their own. I'm just helping you out. The men had lost patience. Hey, what scene of heroic rescue or mutual tenderness are you two trying to act out? Why don't you finish this before leaving? While saying this, the men were actually about to throw themselves on Lin Che. At this moment, Xiaozi suddenly kicked the man in front of him aside. Then, he turned his head and said to Lin Che, run away first. Lin Che was immediately jolted to alertness. Without time to think, she ran outside. However, reality proved that Yun Luo would not leave her to these men so easily. When she opened the door to the private room, she could already see people lined up outside. All of them were Yun Luo's subordinates. In her moment of shock, the people behind her had already caught up with her. Yun Luo was also among them. She looked at Lin Che and sneered. She asked, you still want to escape from my clutches? Lin Che asked, what do you want to do? What? Of course, I want to help you get famous. You've filmed so many productions and exposed yourself so many times. You probably won't mind it this time either. Just then, the men behind her closed in on her again. Earlier, they had nearly let her escape. They had nearly lost out on such a huge sum of money. At the moment, they had already decided early on that they would not let this chance slip past them again. Thus, Xiaozi had already collapsed onto the ground after being beaten up by them. His handsome face was covered in bruises and wounds. He lay there as if at his last gasp. Lin Che's heart wrenched. This man, whom she had met in a chance encounter, was doing his utmost for her just because of her thoughtful words. It was obvious that these words were very important to him. She did not know exactly how much suffering he had been through, to be able to toss everything aside because of one sentence taking pity on him. She could tell that he was ultimately a pitiful person. She turned her head and looked at Yun Luo. Fine, fine, Yun Luo, what goes around will come around. In that case, everything that's happening now is payback for all the years that have passed. Yun Luo said viciously. How could she have the nerve to talk about retribution? The Yun family was in its present state because of Lin Che. It was all because of Lin Che. If retribution was due, it was definitely Lin Che's turn. Drag her back here, Yun Luo commanded harshly. They immediately grabbed Lin Che's arms and twisted it inwards directly. Lin Che only felt extreme loathing. She loathed these people. How could they be this cruel towards someone they did not know? Perhaps it was precisely because they did not know her, so they felt that the ugly side of human nature would go unnoticed. Anyway, they did not know her and would not meet her ever again, so they could unleash the ugliest side of themselves deep inside their hearts. Initially, Lin Che had believed that people were inherently good-hearted. But right now, she felt that people's hearts were actually so sinister and so ugly. They could hurt anyone for the sake of money. Regardless of whether this person was innocent or not, and regardless of how ugly their actions would be. Lin Che shouted, Yun Luo, fine, fine. Just wait and see. We will still see each other in the future. Who knows who will be the one at the bottom then? When Gu Jingze finds out about this, you'll be at a dead end too. He will also hate you even more. For the rest of his life, he will think of you as a woman with a heart as malicious as snakes and scorpions. Yun Luo really hated her. Words like these could even come out of her mouth right now. This was indeed the greatest pain in the depths of Yun Luo's heart. The man she loved so much, the only man she had ever loved, would definitely hate her for the rest of his life because of this. Furthermore, he would also think that she was truly an evil woman. She had previously maintained a good image in front of him, but nothing was left of it now. There was nothing good about it anymore. Yun Luo felt even more pained. She also shouted loudly at them, "Make sure she turns rotten. No matter what happens to her, I'll be the one to bear the blame." Right now, this beautiful and fragile woman had turned into the devil with its completely distorted expression. No matter how ugly her face had been in the beginning, her face would evoke disgust at this precise moment. That the women who had come with Yun Luo could no longer stomach what they were seeing. They only felt that the Yun Luo they were seeing right now was truly terrifying. They watched as Lin Che was about to be dragged in, however, just then. What's happening here? The atmosphere is so lively. Everyone instinctively froze. Only to hear a light and flighty voice travel inside directly. The man who came in following this voice also dumbfounded them. It was Li Mingyu. Yun Luo was shocked as well. Why were they meeting this devil incarnate here? Upon seeing Yun Luo, Li Mingyu first started teasing her as he usually did. "Miss Yun, I wondered who it was. I see you're in a very good mood. Why haven't I seen Miss Yun here before?" Yun Luo scoffed. She looked down on licentious men like him. "So what if I'm here? Am I not allowed to be here?" "You are. Of course, you are. I was just wondering, has Miss Yun been deflowered? If you haven't, the gigolos here won't cut it. Why don't I help you out?" Yun Luo felt even more disgusted as she looked at Li Mingyu. "You're seriously too degenerate." The women still did not know who the person in front of them was. They looked at Yun Luo and said, "Who is this person? He's of such bad character." Yun Luo said, "This is the famous playboy Li Mingyu." When they heard this, they knew who he was. Although they had already had a good understanding of his behavior early on, in reality, they would not be able to meet a man like him under normal circumstances. Right now, seeing that this man was particularly attentive to Yun Luo, they said obliviously, "Luo, you're too much. Don't blame him either. Which man wouldn't behave like this when they meet you? What's more, a playboy like him." Yun Luo also smiled at being flattered. Who wouldn't like to be adored by more men? Especially when this man was quite well known in reality too. Just then, from inside, they could hear Lin Che's scream. Li Mingyu frowned. "What's happening inside?" Quote. Yun Luo said nonchalantly, "Nothing much. I'm just settling some things." Quote. However, something was amiss with Li Mingyu's expression. He seemed very serious as he listened to what was happening inside. Furthermore, the expression on his face was becoming graver as well. "Who's inside?" Li Mingyu suddenly asked in a cold voice. Yun Luo's expression changed slightly. She had brought Lin Che out because of her own willfulness. In reality, the fact that Lin Che was here should not have been disclosed to anyone. No one. Just when Yun Luo wanted to block him and was even willing to use her beauty to seduce this playboy, Li Mingyu unexpectedly did not spare her a second glance and barged inside directly. "Hey, get back here. That's my personal matter. It has nothing to do with you. If you want to play, I'll play with you." The moment Li Mingyu kicked the door open, he saw a man push Lin Che onto the couch. The man's eyes were filled with lust and he was nearly about to throw himself onto Lin Che. Sure enough, it was her. Li Mingyu immediately walked over to them and yanked away the man who was about to lay his hand on Lin Che. How dare he touch Lin Che? Who did he think he was? Was he even worthy? Chapter 1067. I, Li Mingyu, had never been scared of anyone. That host was immediately kicked to the ground. When he looked up, dazed, he saw Li Mingyu pull Lin Che up quickly and shielded her behind him. Upon seeing Lin Che and confirming that it was really her, his expression brightened. Lin Che. Lin Che panted and froze when she saw Li Mingyu. You. She was very shocked to see someone she had not seen for a long time suddenly appear in front of her. But at this moment, she had no time to think about anything. She grabbed Li Mingyu like he was her only hope. Li Mingyu, they. Li Mingyu's gaze hardened. Don't worry. He pulled her behind him and looked up at Yun Luo, who followed them in. Yun Luo looked at them in shock. What did this mean? Lin Che and Li Mingyu actually knew each other. Yun Luo's eyes shifted, feeling a little frustrated. She should not have brought Lin Che to such an obvious place. But how could she know that Lin Che would know these people? She also never thought that Lin Che would know Li Mingyu. Furthermore, looking at Li Mingyu's expression, they were close. Yun Luo felt angry and jealous. This Lin Che was really good at playing around with other men. She looked at Li Mingyu. What do you mean, Li Mingyu? I brought her here. What are you trying to do by standing there? Li Mingyu huffed. In this world, there was no one he was afraid of. Miss Yun, this person belongs to me. Why is she at your place? I don't even know that I need your permission to bring her away. Hey, what did he mean by she belonged to him? Her relationship with her was not to that extent. But Lin Che could not say anything now. She could only look at Li Mingyu, as he was her only hope at getting out. Yun Luo's expression changed. You Li Mingyu, are you really going to meddle in my affairs? You dare to meddle in Yun family's affairs? Li Mingyu snorted. Are you threatening me like that? Unfortunately, I, Li Mingyu, do not care about that. Have you not checked up about what type of person I am? Your family isn't even worth mentioning to me. No family can stop me from doing what I want to do. Li Mingyu said, pulling Lin Che out. Yun Luo's expression changed. The people around them were still watching. Yun Luo felt embarrassed. This Li Mingyu did not leave any leeway for her at all. Yun Luo angrily said, all of you, stop him. The Yun family people immediately rushed towards them. Li Mingyu was not without experience. He huffed and said, all right, you are going to fight me, right? Come on, all of you, if you kill anyone, it'll be under me. If you kill all of them, you will be rewarded immensely. You Li Mingyu, if you really take her away, the Yun family will never forgive you. Yun Luo started panicking. If she was really taken away by him, how would she explain it to her family? She only brought Lin Che out because she stubbornly wanted to humiliate her. Li Mingyu huffed. Come fight me. Li Mingyu pulled Lin Che up and walked out. The people behind unsurprisingly rushed towards them immediately. Lin Che looked back. It seemed like Li Mingyu brought quite a number of people, so he would not be at a disadvantage. She knew how wealthy Li Mingyu was, so the Yun family now might not be able to do anything to him. Lin Che suddenly remembered another person, so she wanted to stop Li Mingyu. However, she suddenly remembered that he would not die anyways, but her body did not allow her to do so, so she should do that next time. Anyways, if she was still alive, there would definitely be another chance. Therefore, she did not care about other things and followed Li Mingyu out. After reaching outside, Li Mingyu brought her into a car and left the scene. Lin Che took a deep breath and looked behind her. This club was in a mess, many customers were running out. Even the girls who followed Yun Luo just now were running out in panic, which looked comical. Yun Luo was fuming with anger. While angry, she was also worried and at a loss. Now, her plan was completely foiled. How would she explain it to her family now? Lin Che was together with Li Mingyu. While in the car, Lin Che looked at Li Mingyu. You have always been in M Nation. Li Mingyu replied, not really, I was always running about. I don't often go back to a nation nowadays. Previously, I was really bullied badly by Black Eagle and your husband. Lin Che said, you deserved it. Look at all the bad things you've done in the past. Li Mingyu looked at her. Hey, I saved you, and you still say I deserved it. Lin Che's eyes shifted, and she immediately smiled obediently. I'm wrong, okay. You didn't deserve it, you didn't deserve it. You are great, you are the best, the greatest master Li Mingyu. Li Mingyu pushed her hand away. You are really fake. Lin Che laughed. Li Mingyu was not angry because he could not become angry at her. He laughed because he was still happy to see her again. Let's go, I'll bring you back to rest first. Look at you, you must have suffered the whole time. Gu Jingze said. Lin Che just remembered she had not told Gu Jingze about this incident. Iya, could you lend me your phone? I just got to know that Yun family was behind this incident. If it was not because Yun Luo wanted to take revenge on me, I would really be still in the dark. I need to tell Gu Jingze. Lin Che said. Gu Jingze lowered his eyebrows and looked at Gu Jingze. She wanted to tell Gu Jingze. Haha, no way. Why tell him? Don't. Lin Che froze. Why can't I tell him? Gu Jingze said, we are enemies. Why do I want to tell him about this? I want to watch his side fall into chaos. Lin Che's expression froze. She speechlessly looked at Gu Jingze. Can you not be so childish? This is crucial to many people's futures. Since it involved a country's president, if they ignored the warnings, the outcome would be very severe. Gu Jingze smiled and nonchalantly said, fate is in the hands of the minority like me. Thus, the life and death of those people are none of my business. I am at the top of the pyramid, so I can do whatever I want. Lin Che thought that it was strange how such a savage person could survive in the business world and not get eliminated. He could still be beaten up for so long and still not die, like a cockroach. Then what are you preparing to do? Lin Che speechlessly asked. Gu Jingze replied, rest at my place first. What are you anxious for? I saved your life and you didn't even thank me before thinking about your man. I am so hurt. Lin Che glared at him fiercely. Although she knew she should be grateful towards him looking at him, she just could not thank him. They quickly reached his place. Chapter 1068. Who is this crazy woman? This place was exactly in the style he always liked, the same as when he was on house arrest in A Nation. Upon reaching, before Lin Che could even say anything, she heard a scream from inside. What was happening? While Lin Che was still in shock, she heard someone inside beating something. I'll let you run, I'll let you run. You still dared to run. Get the hell back inside, you little bitch. Lin Che looked up. Your home is really in a tizzy. However, Gu Jingze looked like he was already used to it. He coolly shrugged and said, you don't have to care about it. Let's go. I'll bring you to eat something. It's so late already and judging by how messy you look, you haven't had anything, right? Lin Che did not realize until just now that she was hungry. After all, there was another little one in her tummy, so her want for food was still very strong. Just as she was about to walk in, she suddenly saw a woman burst out from inside. Ah, help me, Jingze, save me. She did not think much about it, but once she heard, Jingze save me. Lin Che suddenly jolted up. She looked at this woman whose hair was until her waist but unkempt like she had never washed her hair. Her hair was in knots and she wore torn clothes that were loose and saggy. She had an ugly plump body, which made her even harder to look at. Who was this person? She raised her head and stared at Lin Che and Gu Jingze, who was in front of her. That already deformed face was a little familiar, Lin Che realized. It was Mo Hilling. How could it be her? Lin Che immediately looked Gu Jingze in surprise and then at the completely crazy-looking, out-of-shape, scandalized Mo Hilling. Gu Jingze furrowed his brows and glared at the woman in front of him. He immediately kicked her to a side. The people behind immediately rushed over. Upon seeing this scene, they quickly said in fear, Sir, this woman suddenly ran out. We didn't manage to stop her, so we will bring her to the yard now. Gu Jingze glared at the person. Get her out of here. She is so smelly and dirty. Won't you be worried that she'll scare people? Lin Che looked at Mo Hilling carefully. Upon seeing a few people were here to capture her, she looked terrified and ran while screaming, Jingze, quickly come and save me. Seriously. It was too much. Mo Hilling was originally also a slim and pretty lady, but now, she was fat, ugly, dirty, and emitted a smell when she walked past. How did she become like that just after a few years? Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze curiously. What happened? Gu Jingze said, don't mention it. I wanted to help her treat it, but it gets worse with treatment. Anyway, you don't have to bother with her. So, she is now completely crazy. She was long gone. Gu Jingze was already calm when talking about this matter. He did not care about it anymore. Anyway, he could still afford to take care of a crazy person. Initially, they wanted to take good care of her. Thus, they cleaned her room every day and let her stay in a good house. However, a person's patience was limited. Gradually, seeing how she could not stop tearing her clothes and dirtying herself, they also lost their patience and let her do whatever she wanted. Her accommodation changed from the house at the front to the storehouse at the back. They also stopped changing her clothes, stopped cutting her hair, and just let her live like that. Lin Che asked, "Why don't you properly take care of her? She is so dirty. Ha, look at how fat she has become from eating. How could I have been treating her badly? I am already treating her well, okay. I am already very selfless by taking care of her." "Please," Lin Che speechlessly said. "Do you call that taking care of her? How much effort do you have to put in? You just need to order people around." Li Mingyu said, "That's because I am selfless." Suddenly, there was a timid figure that caught her attention once again. It was a little child. He seemed a little small. Upon seeing Li Mingyu, he seemed a little reluctant to approach them. Lin Che froze. She suddenly remembered that this child. He was Mo Hilling and Li Mingyu's child. Yes, it must be him. If not, how could he run into Li Mingyu's living room? "That child," Lin Che called out. "Is he your child? Bring him over to let me take a look at him." Upon seeing the child, Li Mingyu sighed and waved his hand. "Come here, what are you looking at?" Lin Che patted Li Mingyu. "You must be gentle to children." She smiled and said, "Come here to Auntie. Let Auntie take a look at you." The little child did not dare to approach them and just stood there and looked at them before quickly running away. Lin Che was a little disappointed and stood there, pouting. Li Mingyu huffed. "Good for nothing." Lin Che glared at Li Mingyu. Which parent would describe their own child like that? The child looked very young. Although he should be around the same age as Nianian, he looked a lot smaller than Nianian, which made Lin Che sympathize with him. Lin Che said, "The little boy looks pretty cute. What is his name?" Li Mingyu said, "Li Wei." Lin Che speechlessly asked, "Li Wei is in, Li Wei becomes the governor." "Are you stupid? Li Wei, Wei from future." Lin Che said, "I thought you would just anyhow give your child a name." Li Mingyu replied, "He is still my son. I will definitely treat him well." Lin Che said, "Some people are not suited to be fathers. Look at how skinny he is. He must be often bullied by you. You must become better. As a father, don't be so reckless and be a good role model." "Hey, why are you lecturing me right after you arrived? You've already done that the whole way here." "That's because I see that you are not doing a good job. I will continue lecturing you unless you shoo me back to C Nation." Lin Che replied. "Haha, no way." Li Mingyu could easily guess her hidden intentions. He looked at Lin Che. "Just stay here and have fun for a few days. Don't worry. If Gu Jingze cannot even resolve these issues, then it is a waste to marry him. You might as well marry me." Haha, Lin Che glared at him fiercely. Li Mingyu ordered people to prepare fresh clothes for her and let her go in to clean up. After finishing, Lin Che saw the maids bring in drinks and food. She thanked them and thought about the child, so she raised her head up and asked, "Just now, does your young master not get along with his father?" The maid knew that this person was the master's esteemed guest. Master never brought someone back. Now that he brought someone back and asked them to treat her with such care, they probably could not afford to offend them, so she immediately said, "Usually, the master is very busy, so he has no time to deal with the young master, but he treats young master well. But the young master is very timid and does not like talking, so master also has no choice." Chapter 1069. Just ask the Yun family to come to get her at the house. Lin Che asked, "How does he treat him well?" "Well, he would buy him everything. Young master does not lack anything. He goes to the best school, and the master would bring him around to travel many times every year." "Alright, he really treated him well." Lin Che shook her head and thought that maybe Li Mingyu also did not know what was good or bad. Lin Che raised her head again and asked, Well, what happened to Miss Mo?" The maid sighed and shook her head. Sir wanted to give her treatment, but it was futile, regardless of how many people he asked to come. This crazy woman is also at fault. Although the master treated her so well, she still yelled some other man's name. That made the master very angry at her, and thus, he doesn't want to treat her anymore. Now she lives in the storehouse in the yard, and always dirties herself. Anyway, no one wants to care about her anymore. She hits and bites everyone she sees. She doesn't even recognize the young master, and only knows how to call some other man's name. Master has ordered that as long as she doesn't starve to death, we will feed her well until she is old and doesn't care about anything else. Lin Che thought, that was karma. This was because she had evil thoughts and even thought about using other methods to have Gu Jingze's children, hence resulting in this ending. Lin Che cleaned up and went out. She saw a few people beating up Mo Hilling outside. Mo Hilling sprawled across the ground and screamed endlessly. She was still yelling Gu Jingze's name. While she was screaming, she was also scolding, Lin Che, you bitch, you dare to hit me. I want you to die. Just you wait, I will make Jingze kill you and split you into 8 pieces to feed the dogs. Who did she offend again to be scolded by this crazy for nothing? Mo Hilling was still yelling there until the people could not stand it anymore and kicked her a few times and spit on her. She did not mind it and still laughed, saying, bitch, bitch, it is useless no matter how much you yell at me. Jingze still loves me, he will not love a whore like you. At this point, Lin Che could not even bring herself to pity her. The male maid threw some dirty-looking rice into the bowl. The bowl also looked extremely dirty. Although the food looked like even dogs would not touch it, upon seeing the food, Mo Hilling happily dug in with her hands, squatting there. She was indeed crazy enough that she would not care about that. While she was eating, she laughed happily. The maid huffed and said, she is indeed a crazy dog. She is happy as long as I give her food. No matter how many meals she had in one day, she'll still eat. She is so fat that she is like a pig. Lin Che could not look at her anymore. She shook her head and left without bothering about her anymore. Li Mingyu probably still wanted her to live a little better, but the servants would not care about that. Since Li Mingyu was too lazy to ask about her, they would not waste energy on this mad person. Lin Che went back in and saw that Li Mingyu had already prepared food. Since it is your first day here, I'll give you a feast. He smiled and said. Lin Che asked, how many days are you preparing to host me? That depends on when Gu Jingze will come and pick you up. Lin Che asked, if you don't tell me, how will he come and pick me up? Who can he blame if he cannot even find his own wife? He really knew how to pick trouble. These men were so childish sometimes. On the other side, Yun Luo was already at a loss. Yun Kuoshan had already heard about this incident. He looked at Yun Luo, who was bowing her head and angrily said, just you wait, you good-for-nothing trash. Yun Luo did not dare to say anything and continued bowing her head. Yun Kuoshan was raging. This daughter of his was always very obedient, but she was getting more idiotic recently. She was involved in all the troubling matters. Now that the whole plan had collapsed, he also did not know what to do next. Yun Luo also felt very regretful, but she really could not control herself. Upon hearing that Lin Che was captured, she uncontrollably wanted to humiliate her. However, she did not know she would meet the gangster, Li Mingyu. She said, it's Lin Che who is so low-lying, and dared to provoke everyone. She even dared to provoke Li Mingyu. Now that she is pregnant, she still dared to go with Li Mingyu. Who knows what she would use in exchange for saving her life. Now, they might be together. Alright, you only know how to talk wisely after the fact happened. Yun Kuoshan sighed, looking at the news on the television. His subordinate came in, so he asked, how are the news in C Nation? There is no news about the Gu family. The people are already asking for the president to step down, but Gu Jingming did not make a public reply. Gu Jingze is also still looking for Lin Che. Yun Kuoshan nudged his chin and nodded. It looks like Gu Jingze might not know that Lin Che has already been taken away by Li Mingyu. Upon hearing that, Yun Luo thought, that meant that there might be a last resort. Yun Luo immediately said, I've already heard that Lin Che was frolicking with Li Mingyu. Maybe because she was frolicking with him, so she did not want to tell Gu Jingze. Stop, you shut up. Yun Kuoshan narrowed his eyes. Li Mingyu did not inform Gu Jingze because they might not be on the same side. I've never heard of any relationship between Gu Jingze and Li Mingyu, so the two of them had never worked together or met. When they crossed in the past, they were fighting, so they would not have a good relationship. Yun Kuoshan continued, let's prepare to go to Li Mingyu's. Young Luo was still thinking about going along with them so that if she filmed something, she could send it to Gu Jingze and show him how slutty Lin Che was that she even frolicked with a playboy like Li Mingyu. Li Mingyu was still at home eating with Lin Che. After finishing the main course, they still had dessert. Lin Che also ate a little because she did not feel well and eating too much would only cause her to feel nauseous. Because the baby was growing and always pushing against her stomach, recently, it made her stomach feel a little uncomfortable. Li Mingyu shook his head. How unfortunate. Every time I meet you, it's when you are pregnant. Yes, it means that you are fated with my children. Why not become their godfather? Haha, after I agree, I have to be responsible for the both of you, so I will need to send you back to C Nation, right? Yes, yes, Lin Che smilingly said. Li Mingyu rolled his eyes at her. I can be the godfather, but it'll be after you give birth. Lin Che's expression immediately darkened. Who needs you to be their godfather then? Humph. Just then, the people outside said, Sir, the Yun family is visiting. Lin Che froze. Li Mingyu wiped his lips and laughed. Let's go and take a look. Me too, Lin Che asked. Of course, they are here for you, so why would you not go? Li Mingyu looked at her and raised his eyebrows. Why, are you afraid? Lin Che thought, Li Mingyu already brought herself back. Since he was a prideful person, he would not give her back after bringing her back. Thus, it would be okay if she headed out since she had nothing to be afraid of. She said, let's go and take a look. Li Mingyu liked her straightforward personality. She was not anxious about anything. No matter what she experienced, she was optimistic and positive, which made people feel like as long as they were with her, nothing would be difficult. Chapter 1070. Why not work together with Yun family? When the two people went out together, they saw Yun Kuoshan and Yun Luo sitting there. Lin Che followed Li Mingyu. After changing into a new set of clothes, Lin Che looked completely different from just now. She looked much more refreshed and her face was also pink with health. It was obvious that Li Mingyu treated her extremely well. Her clothes were all branded and expensive, so it was apparent that much care was spent on her. Yun Luo was even more jealous. She stared in Lin Che's direction with raw hatred. Unfortunately, she was originally unable to see Lin Che get gang raped there. If it was not for this busybody Li Mingyu, she would have been able to send her recordings to Gu Jingze. But this Lin Che was just so lucky that she could always escape all dangers. Yun Kuoshan stood up and said, Mr. Li, we meet again. This time, my daughter was too insensible. I heard that side started fighting with Mr. Li, so I am here to apologize to you. Li Mingyu said casually, it's okay. It's no biggie. Yun Kuoshan said, my daughter was also anxious because our guest from M Nation was brought away by you. His gaze landed on Lin Che. His meaning was clear. This person was ours, so you should give her back to us. Li Mingyu laughed. Well, I knew Lin Che a long time ago. Although you invited her, do you not allow me to let her swing by my house to visit? Yun Kuoshan replied, of course you can, but Mr. Li, I will honestly tell you that this incident is very severe and cannot be just explained with hosting. Well, I know that you have no interest in the Gu family. The Gu family has always been prideful and view themselves as above us. Because they are wealthy, they suppress us until we cannot breathe. Don't you find it hard to breathe? Lin Che paused. They were coming to lobby Li Mingyu to work together. Li Mingyu smiled silently, looking at him and waiting for him to continue. Seeing how he stayed silent, Yun Kuoshan assumed that he agreed. He then continued, so, why not we work together this time and get the Gu family out of the business circle at one go? Then, this world will obviously not belong to the Yun family because we just wanted revenge. The world will still be yours. Li Mingyu smiled. His expression showed that he was clever, but no one could guess what he was thinking. Li Mingyu said, but I don't know if you have heard about this before, but I always preferred a beauty over an empire. Yun Kuoshan froze. He looked at Lin Che and narrowed his eyes in thought. He suddenly had an idea and said, then what about this? Our Yun Luo is also not married, and Mr. Li, you are also single, so. Yun Luo was dazed. What did he mean? Was he going to sell her to Li Mingyu? Li Mingyu paused and looked seemingly interested at Yun Luo. This young lady was cold to everyone, so everyone tried to win her heart. For the same reason, many people sang praises about Yun Luo. As Yun Kuoshan saw that Li Mingyu was interested, he pridefully raised his chin. This daughter was one of his best works. He spent a lot of effort in raising her from a child. Yun Luo was clearly unwilling. Upon seeing how her father's plan was about to succeed, she quickly pulled Yun Kuoshan to one side and asked, "Dad, what are you doing?" Yun Kuoshan whispered, "Why? Is Li Mingyu not good? My heart belongs to someone, so I don't want to be together with another person." Yun Kuoshan huffed. "Are you still thinking about that Gu Jingze? He is impossible. Wake up. Li Mingyu is filthy rich. Do you know how much wealth he has? Every family wants a family like him. If you don't want this kind of man, do you want a beggar from the streets? The Yun family can rely on him to rise again. This is your mission now. Luckily, you still had some charisma these past few years. You should be thankful and not be picky." Yun Luo understood that the Yun family was not like the past, and her status was also not the same as before. But luckily, her reputation as the Ice Beauty was still true, so there were still a lot of rich boys who wanted her. But most of them were definitely not comparable to Li Mingyu. Although Yun Luo was unwilling, she seemed only to have this one choice. She could only look back at Li Mingyu and thought, never mind. He was still considered a talented young handsome man with lots of money. Although he was a little frivolous, many people would still be envious of her. Seeing that Yun Luo agreed, Yun Kuoshan turned back and said, "How is it, Mr. Li? My proposal is very attractive, right? You will have both the empire and the beauty." Li Mingyu sighed, seemingly hesitant. Yun Kuoshan said, "This is your only chance, Mr. Li. Are you not considering it?" He pushed his own daughter forward. Just then, Li Mingyu simply sighed and suddenly said, "Sorry Mr. Yun, I really wanted to help you, but I am unfortunately not interested in your daughter at all." Yun Luo froze. Yun Kuoshan did not expect that at all. Li Mingyu said, "I am really not interested in the so-called Ice Beauty. I tried just now, but I couldn't even get hard at her, so I thought, never mind. It seems like I was not interested in socialites. I still like looking at faces. As long as their faces are pretty, I can get hard. If their faces are not pretty no matter what socialite she is, there's no use." Lin Che almost spit out. This Li Mingyu. Was he saying that Yun Luo's face was ugly? Yun Luo's face was not ugly, but it was an exaggeration to say that she was a beauty that could only be met once in a blue moon. At that moment, her expression was completely dark. She looked at Li Mingyu. After being completely humiliated, she was extremely outraged. Her face was red and white with anger, so it seemed like she was quite enraged. Li Mingyu said, "Comparatively, I like someone like Lin Che." He was complimenting Lin Che for her beauty. Lin Che really did not want to be complimented by him like that, but Li Mingyu just wanted to push all the hatred onto her. Yun Kuoshan's expression was also very dark. "Li Mingyu, you are purposely humiliating the Yun family. Is my Yun family worth less than an actress?" Li Mingyu laughed. "Yun family is indeed great, but unfortunately, I am not afraid of you. Why do you not ask around carefully what type of person I am before coming to work with me? Sorry, I just happen to like people like Lin Che. Although I cannot get anything at all, I am still more willing to stand by Lin Che. Compared to a hypocrite like the Yun family, I am more willing to help Lin Che." Should Lin Che feel a little touched? On the other hand, Yun Kuoshan felt so humiliated that he was about to burst into a rage. How did Lin Che enchant people? Even Li Mingyu was so protective of her.